stars be with you.
Hello everybody, my name is Mel LaFera of Energetic Principles, and today we're going to look at the week ahead for Monday, October 7th through Sunday, October 13th. And just as a friendly disclaimer, this is a general reading, so take what resonates and leave the rest, because only you know you best. So if you'd like to go more in depth with your personal astrology, that is what I'm here for. Come on over to energeticprinciples.com and book your consultation today. All right, so what are the general themes for this week? Well, it is station week. We have two major planets stationing in the skies. We've got Jupiter going retrograde, and we've got Pluto, who is stationing direct. And this is big news. First of all, because stations are always active, whether they are turning to apparent backwards motion or they are returning to their forward grind, we can always expect to see dynamic events happen in the week of stations. It's also important to note that if you're going through Jupiter transits, if you're going through Pluto transits, then you're probably going to feel it more than others. And so we have Jupiter going retrograde in Gemini. You know, Jupiter is about our expansion in life and our beliefs and how we grow forward, right? Well, when it goes retrograde, then we might be turning in to examine some of our beliefs or examine our forward momentum and how we're growing in life. And perhaps there is a bit of information, very mercurial, right, that is gifted us so that we can go inwards to have this processing moment for ourselves. Now, with Pluto going direct in Capricorn, I mean, this is big news because this is the last gasp of Pluto in Capricorn. So it is moving forward, and we only have a handful of weeks left of this transit that has been, some would say, dragging on since 2008. So that is a big theme. We also have Venus making a trine to Mars, and I talked about this a little bit last week, but these are the relationship planets in a harmonious situation flowing together. They're both in what is considered debilitated states, so they're flowing together, especially Venus being in Mars's sign, but they're not the best resourced planets, you know. Maybe they work together through a rough situation, like things aren't ideal, but how do we come together interpersonally, and also our ability to receive and have balance, but also be assertive and directive. That those two impulses are coming together to meet. And this will be one of 4 trines due to the retrogrades that are coming up. You know, Mars will go retrograde in December, and then Venus goes retrograde in, I believe, March. I should know that. And then, so basically, October's the first trine, January's the second when Mars is retrograde, April is the third when Venus is retrograde, and then in May of 2025, they are going to trine both direct like they are today. So this is an ongoing story of interpersonal dynamics. So be aware of what comes up this week and how to work with one another. Now, also a main theme is that we have a first quarter in Capricorn. So we have a Capricornian push. And this isn't just any push, as we'll see when we get in the charts. It forms a cardinal grand cross with both Mars and Chiron. So there can be a lot of tension and themes around handling business, just first off, in work and, you know, responsibilities and sort of that reality check that Capricorn can give. And it's going to combine with family, home matters, interpersonal relationships, irritation or possibly anger wounds, or how you assert yourself in what can be a rather tense situation. So this is definitely going to be a big part of this week, as are Chiron triggers. You know, Chiron has a lot going on right now, with Jupiter making a sextile to Chiron, as they both are retrograde, which I talked about actually in the solar eclipse in Libra video. But we also have Mars squaring Chiron during the weekend too. So With the Jupiter aspect, this is an opening aspect from when Jupiter was in Aries and made the conjunction to Chiron a couple years ago. And so this actually will be one of 3 that will be forming through May 2025. So are you seeing a theme of May 2025 happening here? And so we'll have one in October, November, and May. And that's mainly because Jupiter is stationing, and then Chiron will station too. And so October and November has this, this growth momentum as we work with healing material and the wounds and the triggers or the poison points that, we're injected with in we all have them. Something in us triggers, and especially when we think of Aries situations like that have to do with taking action, being independent, asserting oneself, also, anger and irritation, and sometimes overdoing it, things along those lines. And especially with Mars squaring too, these are themes that can come up. We also, lastly, have Mercury making some moves too. Mercury is going to trine Jupiter. Mercury's still hanging out in Libra. It's going to trine Jupiter, oppose Chiron. So Mercury is lighting up this Jupiter-Chiron piece. It's going to square Pluto, recently stationing Pluto, and then ingress into Scorpio. So that Mercury is going to have a message for us this week. And what is it going to be? So let's go ahead and look at our charts here. Let's bring up, here we have Monday. And so I'm just gonna rock it through real quick so you can kind of see the moves, how we start out with this Sag moon, the Sag waxing crescent. It moves through Sag from Monday through Tuesday, and then on Wednesday we're in Capricorn territory, and Thursday we have that first quarter. And then Friday, you see that Moon-Pluto conjunction, which I'll talk about in a second here. That's a biggie. And then through the weekend, we have an Aquarius moon who just dips into Pisces at the tail end of Sunday. Now, of course, these charts are looking at San Diego time, where I am on the west coast of the United States. So if you are anywhere else in the world, you're going to want to adjust by your time zone. So let's go back to Monday. Now on Monday, what we have going on, we got that waxing crescent moon in Sag, and it's squaring Saturn. So, but what it's doing is it's going to square Saturn for a good portion of the day, and then move on to make a sextile with the sun. So it's like there's a lot of maybe some emotional hurdles to get through, or sort of that heaviness feeling, or working through some of the how do we move forward, right? These are both Jupiter-ruled signs, Sagittarius and Pisces, and there could be obstacles to going forward, or just a lot of stuff, business to handle, some business. And luckily, I think that when we get through this tension and then we get that sextile to the sun, there will be more of that sense of balance and harmony that returns, or maybe relational awareness too, if some of the things that we're having issues with are other people. Now, October 8th on Tuesday, we have that moon still in Sag, and it's actually lighting up the Jupiter, what do we got here? It's lighting up Jupiter who's getting ready to station, right? Jupiter's going to station on Wednesday. So we have this stilling Jupiter. And so, these are informational signs, Sagittarius and Gemini both. And so we could get a bit of information that comes in, or we can be confronted with what it is that needs to happen in order to move forward, or certain belief systems, because the moon is essentially ruled by that Jupiter getting ready to station. Maybe there's certain belief systems or ways of looking at the world, or our comprehension of our spirituality in some way that sees this polarity point, or is confronted in some way outside of us, right? Oppositions are always well, not always, but most often, have to do with what we meet in the world outside of us. Another person, a situation. We have to be confronted with the mirror, so to speak. And then we try to find that bird's eye view and come together. So what else we have going on is Mercury, who is ruling that Jupiter, right? We kind of see this chain of the moon to Jupiter to Mercury. Well, Mercury is opposing Chiron, is trining Jupiter, right? We also have this Venus-Mars trine perfecting. And granted, the moon isn't really tapped into those planets, so I'm not going to say we're not going to feel that Venus-Mars, trying to bridge the gap and come together. But if we're doing that, it probably has a lot to do with more of the Sag, Gemini, Libra, Aries areas of our chart, and really talking it all through, right? Mercury trining Jupiter. This is about getting our minds on board for where this is all going. Do we have enough information? Do we need to collect more? What do we need to communicate? Is it potentially painful? Or with that Mercury Chiron opposition? But luckily the moon trining Chiron, I think, helps us have the courage, the fire, the passion, the enthusiasm to get through maybe some of the triggers that we are presented with, especially from a communicative or a perceptive place. So we're going to see a big portion of that, probably Jupiter Chiron story. And because Jupiter is stationing. So look for the wisdom, or the thing that is going to give you the thing to chew over and find the wisdom later on. Now let's move over to Wednesday. And so Wednesday, this Jupiter is now retrograde, right? It stations while we sleep here in the US. And we have the moon now in Capricorn. And so Wednesday is an interesting day because there really are no lunar aspects to the planet. The moon is at the bending of the nodes, so we might be contemplating a fate in some way, or just where the story is going, and especially these Mars-Venus stories. But when it comes to activity, the moon is moving to sextile Saturn the whole entire day, right? And Saturn's over there at 13 degrees Pisces, so this is going to take a second. So Wednesday, it's kind of like slow your roll, feel into the Jupiter station, feel into maybe the nodal story and the eclipses, right? It's sort of a processing day, I feel like, especially because when we go from Sag moon to Cap moon, that is a dip. That's a dip in energy. Even though we get more serious and more, Capricornian, when it comes to just the oomph of life, Capricorn can be a little more slow, a little sluggish, especially moving to sextile Saturn. So take your time on Wednesday. Now Thursday is a big day. Thursday. So this is kind of a hot spot of our week because this is the first quarter in Capricorn. And it's, as you can see by the chart here, it is squaring the sun. So this is what the moon's going to be doing basically in this order: squaring the sun, opposing Mars, squaring Chiron, and then it's going to sextile Venus. So to me, that looks like a lot of intensity. That looks like a lot of push. That looks like okay, I got to handle some business. And I got to put my energy and my emotional energy in it. Or maybe I have to push my emotions aside so I can deal with some things. And you probably might get a little bit irritated, or you'll have to have the courage to move through things that maybe you were fearful of, or avoiding taking action on, or, sort of that Chiron piece of not maybe being assertive when you need to, or being overly assertive and it's causing things to be inflamed, right? Capricorn trying to control the situation. So I guess I feel like moderation is a good word for this day. It's not too much. I mean, this is a day to get things done, but it's also a lot of tension when we're talking about a cardinal grand cross. So this is tension that is moving forward and initiating and acting, or pivoting in some way. And we're bound to run into something, right? We're not going to get a bunch of squares and oppositions and not run into something. So give yourself and others grace today. Now that's kind of the beauty, is that sextile to Venus at the end of the day, so that, you know, maybe we can relax or have the time to process and find grace for ourselves, or relax and unwind in a hot bath. You know, like treat yourself after an intense day, I guess is what I'm saying here. Or I will say, if you blew something up during the day, especially with others, you might be able to make amends, or, you know, do the sensible thing by the end of the day. So Friday, Venus's day here, this is when Pluto stations direct, and you don't see it quite on the screen yet because it had happened later at night here in the US. But what you do see is this moon at the final degrees of Capricorn conjunct that Pluto. So I'm pretty sure... Gosh, is it? Are we gonna have to? Oh my gosh, I don't know. Is this the last moon Pluto in Capricorn? Let's see. I probably should have looked at this before, but let us double check here. Dun, dun, dun. Oh no, oh wait, no, that's just kidding. That's later that day. Oh, there's one more, November 7th. Okay, so this is this is the second to last moon conjunct Pluto aspect. So it's interesting. This is moon conjunct Pluto on November 7th. And Pluto's direct. But let's go back to our one here on October 11th on Friday, where Pluto is stationing. So a stationing planet is a different ball game, right? You know, you're receiving Pluto. It's any type of planet that is stationing direct is essentially emerging. I don't know why I just got the image of Dracula arising from its coffin, but well, let's go with it. Is this idea of emergence. So we're really going to feel that on Friday, these final Pluto stories. We're probably going to see it in the news with, power structures and people in power and capitalism and business and, these it's a 29-degree situation, so these are very far along situations, right, that can reach crisis point in some way. But anyways, that is a thing going on, and it's the first part of the morning here in the US. So if you're feeling rather intense, or all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, oh my God, I have to change this, I'm ready to change this, or this is going through this transformative moment, or I'm ready to purify this energy and empower myself. To me, it can be very empowering, really. We just went through a first quarter Capricorn moon. We're still in first quarter, really. And then you get a hit of Pluto and you're like, okay, you kind of grit your teeth and it's like, all right. And there's a lot of moon aspects going on this day too. The early on, we got the moon squaring Mercury. It trines Uranus. It sextiles Neptune. It conjuncts Pluto. And yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot first thing. But then it moves into Aquarius midday. So it's kind of a two-part day where you kind of got that heaviness and the intensity in the morning, but then it breaks away for something that is more, social, by Friday night. Maybe we're feeling more social and a little more detached, etc. So let's move on to Saturday. We're officially in the weekend here. And so this is the day that the Jupiter-Chiron sextile perfects. And basically we've got the aqua moon moving to trine the sun all day. So I think Saturday is it's a nice day. We have this social energy. There's more of a lightening up from the week. Maybe we're detaching, we're gaining perspective, kind of rising above it all and sorting out what we have been through. And so Saturday has just a nice flow to it. So get together with your friends, get together with groups, talk it out. It's all good. Now, Sunday, this is a different vibe. So Sunday, we have the moon still in Aqua, but it will move into Pisces later in the day. But there's a lot going on here. So look at Mercury sitting over here, 29 degrees, right? Who's it squaring with? Oh, Pluto. Our friend Pluto is back here, recently stationed. And so basically Mercury is going to square Pluto, then move into Scorpio. Mars over here is going to square Chiron, right? The Sun is opposing Chiron and trining Jupiter. So Sunday has a moment. Like this is, we're probably going to have some sort of intense conversation or with another person or with ourselves. There's going to be sort of that changing of the mind or tension around perspective or just being in a very like sort of intense place. And then, you know, we have our Mars energy on top of it, like squaring off with Chiron. So this is going to be a very volatile, combustible situation, especially since the moon over here is basically squaring Venus, which does not help interpersonal relations. And it is also squaring Uranus. And as you can see here, Venus and Uranus are getting close to having an opposition themselves. So when it comes to relational dynamics and just harmony and, you know, feeling, you know, in the groove, this is not necessarily an in the groove moment, but sometimes we need that that shake up and that tension and that confrontation and that just that shake in order to get to the the Sun opposing Chiron and the Sun trining Jupiter. Because that's at the end of the day. It's almost like we go through these motions that can be rather intense, especially in the earlier part of the day with the Aquarius moon action. And then the moon moves into Pisces. And then trines Mercury once it moves into Scorpio. Let's get us over there. And it's almost like we can maybe process and be having a more internal moment and have, you know, that moment of sort of emotional recognition after a lot of airy energy, air and earth that was really tense. So yeah, Sunday definitely has some processing and some intensity. And I will say that look at the sun here. It's about to square Mars. That is first thing on Monday. So this is, you know, this can be ego flare-ups. These can be also turning of the pages with our action energy where we're like, oh my God, I'm aware, I gotta do this. This needs to happen. So there definitely is a dynamic vibe on Sunday that is a turning point to larger stories. So all right, I think we did that treatment well. Let's go back and talk about how do we work with this energy, right? I think number one here is being honest with yourself. It's a good week to be honest with yourself. Confront areas of self-deceit, you know, where you might have been tricking yourself or telling yourself one story, but you know better. So, and I think by doing that, when we're not in this place of, you know, deceiving ourselves in some way, we own our value, we own our power, and we own our deservingness to go out and, you know, do what we need to do to take control of our lives in a situation. And if other people have been pulling the wool over your eyes, or, you know, this could be a reality check that's like, you know what, I'm going to move away from you, hard boundary. So there's this level of honesty that's coming up this week. I think it's also a great week to remove intuitive blocks. And I think this might tie into the honest piece because Mercury at the end of the week is leaving combustion. So it's getting past that 8-degree situation with the sun, and especially when it moves into Scorpio, which is definitely a more intuitive sign. I think there is this sense of the need to trust what you know. And And also being open to the spiritual world and how like something you can't see with your own two eyes, or the mystery of life can actually help you now. But you have to trust in these things and believe in your hunches. So if you've been kind of like rationalizing something when emotionally it's time to go with what your emotions are saying. I think it's also a great week to act on your value, right? We got a Capricorn first quarter here. So this opens work doors, money doors. So keep your eyes open, right? This is a push ahead in this, what Capricorn is known for. I think it'd also be a great time, especially since Venus is trining Mars and still in the depths of Scorpio, to do a value check. I always love to tell clients this. It's like realign with your values. Get a sheet of paper out, list what means the most to you or what you value, and then you can actually move towards those things with integrity. Because if you value this, but you're moving and acting in another direction, which could be part of the not being honest with yourself, this is sort of what needs to come back into focus and to pivot, right? We got a lot of cardinal energy going on, which means it's a good time to pivot. And lastly, harness your life force. There's a lot of Mars going on. There's a lot of Sun going on. So if you've been scattered or lacking energy, this is about redirecting your, redirecting your oomph to be more focused and more single-minded on what it is that you want to accomplish, and really breathing enthusiasm into your goals so that you can gain momentum and really start to make some progress, right? Because we are in cardinal push territory. So this is a wonderful time to go and get it. And really, at the end of the day, with the Pluto energy turning around and Capricorn first quarter, it's a good time to just embrace the material world and what you got going on there or what you want to achieve there. And really the embodied experience, what it means to be human. And also because there's so much Libra happening still, seeking union. And first seeking union with the self, because when we are together as one within our, ourselves and our integrity, then we can seek that union outside of ourselves. All right, so before we wrap up here, let's get an animal for the week. Who's going to come up and guide us? Excuse me. Let's take a sip of water. Maybe that's another thing. Drink water this week. Get all your water in. All right. Who wants to walk with us? What? All right. Well, if you watched last week's program, the squirrel is back. Squirrel is back here. So we're back to this believing in yourself and, doing what it takes to get what you need, right? I talked last week about the squirrel, gathering its nuts and thinking about the winter time. We are in fall here, at least in the northern hemisphere. And so it's a good time to collect what you need and believe you have the ability to get what you need, and get yourself in a good situation that is full of resource. So I feel like this also taps into the Sun trining Jupiter too, and Jupiter stationing retrograde is this belief component. We're only as effective in life as we can be if we believe in our ability to be so, right? So tap into that belief that you have value, you have purpose, you have power, and you deserve to get your nut. All right, everyone. So I hope you enjoyed this forecast. Of course, like I said before, come on over and book a reading with me at energeticprinciple.com. I'd love to look at your astrology and see what is ahead for you, because that is always fun to connect with each other. And it's always, you'll leave with clarity. That is the number one thing I hear. Oh my gosh, I feel so clear now. So I'd love to connect with you. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe to this channel. Leave a comment below. Tell me what's going on with you, what you think this week will look like, what you're experiencing. Anything. I'd love to hear it. And of course, on Apple Podcasts, if you're listening to the audio version, leave a review because it helps me to ascend into the ranks. So help a girl out. All right. Well, it's gonna be a week. So I hope you're here for it. I hope you're ready. I hope you're ready to, get all cardinal on it and make an impact. So all right, everyone. Well, I wish you the best. And as always, may the stars be with you.